means that no matter what state of mind or what state of body we are in, the nature of pure consciousness is ever present. Om Namo Narayana. Okay, namaste. So, okay. So we are doing the last parts of the 6th chapter. So here, a couple of points was mentioned regarding how a yogi who has practiced to certain extent an abhyasa and prematurely is not able to complete that and attains either some degree of nirvana, I mean, dies before that. So his question to Arjuna's question is, what if that person has not attained to what that state of yoga it is mentioned? So Bhagavan assures him in the first shloka itself and says, Partha neveha namutra vinashastasya vidyate. So that nothing is lost, that all that he has done in the previous life will help him in the next life. So based on that, some contemplation questions. Do I tend to assess my achievements or failures using extreme judgments? So this is also psychologically, many of us have that tendency, right, to make extreme judgments. Do I view things as either complete success or failure? So this is one reason also we can become a bit judgmental. Am I evaluations based on comparing myself to others, or do I set reasonable goals for myself? So each one is at a different stage in sadhana. So where we are, we have to assess and make accordingly the goals. Can I identify present day skills or accomplishments that originated from efforts I put in years ago? So we see in our life also, right? Like sometimes we do something, we do certain activities, and we don't get the results right away. But some point we recognize, oh, this is because I did that when I was a kid, or I studied in school, or some samskaras. So this is how samskaras work. They are like impressions. They will have a force on their own. The subtle mind, they are there, and they manifest at a time. So when causes and conditions come together, so this is how samskaras and karma also, this is how it works. Our impressions are there somewhere, good and bad impressions. Udara vichinna, prasupta udara vichinna. So these are different stages where the samskaras manifest. We were discussing in the last class, right? Even the sometimes negative things, we don't realize that we had that kind of tendency. Something happens, like some people say that, right? Like they never were addicted to something, but then something happens once or twice and then they get stuck to it. So that is also like a force which we don't see. Can I identify, just as past labors contribute to current abilities, which of my present day efforts could potentially lead me to future growth and increased mental skills? Can I reasonably deduce that none of my efforts ever go waste, including my efforts in meditation and spirituality? So this is a subtle point that our efforts in our meditation, so we may sometimes have a very bad meditation. We make an effort, the mind is restless, we sit for maybe japa or something, but the mind is very restless. We are not able to contain the mind, and we think that there's no point. This is a waste of time, waste of effort. Why should I do this? So no, none of our efforts ever go to waste, and this is where the karmic factor also comes in. Okay, so let us continue now. So here in this 6th chapter, now we are looking at the teachings based on yoga brashta. The two kinds of things are mentioned in the follow-up shlokas. So 40 1 and 42, two kinds of yoga brastas were given. So some who are like yoga brasta is one who has not attained that final goal of realization. So one kind of yoga brasta or the person is who has made the efforts, but he's not able to come to that state of realization. He still has not perfect. His abhyasa has not been perfected, and his Vairagya also has not been perfected. So there are still desires lingering and other things. So he's born in, by as Bhagavan said, in Shuchinam Srimati, that Gehe. So that pious and rich, pious and wealthy family. He's born in such a family, meaning they are like somehow, they still have certain ethical value systems or some good understanding and a good upbringing he will have because he's born in such a family. And then there is another kind of yoga prashta. He is his vairagya has exceeded to a higher level, maybe not completely vashikara, but closer to vashikara, where he has been able to detach from a lot of worldly desires, worldly possessions. But yet, when we understand Vairagya, we have to realize Vairagya doesn't mean that he doesn't do anything. Because of Vairagya, I don't do anything. I will sit at home. I will not interested. I'm depressed. Not that kind of Vairagya. He realizes he has to do what he has to do. Yeah, if he has to have a good meal, he will have a good meal. If he has to do work, use some vehicle, he will use that vehicle to go about. But he's not excessively attached. He's not addicted to them. That sense of what you call like a halo around those objects, that is not there because he realizes true happiness is not in objects. Those happiness he's seeking is not outward. So that realization has come. Now, such a person is being born to a spiritually inclined family, meaning he's born in a family where they, in the text, it says like a brahmanas and all that, but people who are generally spiritually interested, evolved, families, parents who have that inclination. So then that their impression will fall on the children, that people who are, so the environment is even more conducive for a spiritual growth. So now these are the two families, they are come together. Now there are a couple of questions we will just try to do some inquiry before we go to the next sloka. One is that see there are certain causes and conditions from previous life which has brought about certain situations, conditions here where that that good karma of that past can manifest in this life. Now, this one point was mentioned. So, without whether he wants or not, he will be pushed towards the progress, towards making more effort. So, the question one we will have discussed is that does it mean that because it is there, this opportunity has come, he will not have he will not regress back, meaning he will not fall back to a previous kind of situation or towards falling away from the path again. Like Yoga Prashta, we said, right? He may not succeed again. He may not again fail. He may again get carried away for worldly desires. Or will he continue growing? What is we discussed briefly, but what is now our conclusion? Meaning, if he's born in that such situation, is it guaranteed that he will progress? Anybody wants to comment?
No.
Why?
Swamiji,
There has to be a self-effort, Swamiji.
Okay, anybody else?
Swamiji, I was
Yeah.
thinking that this person has the predisposition to grow, huh?
Yes.
But the mind is submitted all to the gunas on many things, huh?
Yeah.
And we have to deal also with that.
Hmm.
We will go further and we'll go back, and I think this is normal till everything is fixed.
Okay. Good. Yeah.
Swamiji, this
Yeah. Varun.
person might have a bucket of negative pathway samskaras, which might
Hmm.
pull away from the practice or even abhyasa vairagya. He or she might have succeeded a bit in the previous life, but we don't have the
Yeah.
memory of the past life anyway.
But it is said in the shloka, avasha api. He will be pulled whether helplessly in a way to progress also. So, of course, that is also the point. Now, yeah, anybody else wants to comment on this?
Guruji,
Yeah.
he will be given the choice of free will, but he must use his viveka and he must come to the path. If not, if he is getting pulled to the wrong path, then his past good karmas will, like you said, it will push him to the right path.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So actually, this point of free will is where the debate is sometimes, Some people say that even moksha is already predetermined, they say. There's no effort in there. When you have to get moksha, you will get. So why do anything? Don't, it will happen. So there is also a thought like that. Okay, All right. So let us first look at this. So in the shloka, it is correct, as many of you already mentioned, that there are negative samskaras, just as how there is positive samskara. See, one is karma. This is two factors we are using here. One is karma. Karma means life situations, circumstances, causes and conditions that has been presented to you. Other is samskara. So, samskara are your innate impressions, inner impressions. So, karmic conditions will present one thing. The samskaras will determine something else. So, karmic conditions, you don't have free will. Like when you're born in somebody's family, that you didn't choose, or you don't have. Maybe to some extent, yogis might have some choice. But in many cases, that is not a choice. You'd say, I don't want this parents. You can't choose, right? You were born there. So the karmic conditions, there is no choice. But the samskara are inner impressions of the mind. Those are the based on the vasanas. And there is that fight. The Pandavas and Kauravas are sitting there in our head. So we can determine there whether we choose that Kauravas, our inner samskaras, which are rebellious, negative, or those samskaras which are positive. So this determines the potential for growth or the potential for abuse of that opportunity also. Huh? So that same opportunity given to that same person may be used in a good way. That is why we see, right? Children born to that same parents. Some become very good, some become very bad. So that both ways it can go. Why? Because mere opportunity will not determine. That person's inner inclination will determine. But sometimes what happens, that karmic force is so strong that it doesn't allow the arising of good samskaras also. So this is also something that happens. So sometimes the force of karma is strong enough that the good samskaras will not arise. So this is why we say, right, like ours, many of us, spiritual growth happens mostly when we meet some realized or guru or somebody, or we are able to encounter deeper engagement with scriptures. So until then, we may be dabbling here and there with some kind of spirituality, but that real progress happens at that point. So there, what happens, that same person, even though of course spiritually also when people come, right, there is a potential for students to grow. And some students will also exploit that also in ways they want or they benefit, either for their financially or egoistic gratification, showing off the knowledge. So all that also will happen. So that again, there they will determine that spiral. So that opportunity came through that efforts. Then how they progress from there, whether they will kind of progress and go to moksha, or they will kind of further dig their own grave and go backwards. That is also there. All that can happen at any stage on the spiritual path. So we are not ascertain that growth is always there just because we have this opportunity. Okay, so this is one point. The other point is this, that we will also have to discuss, or just many of you can think. So it is said here, some people born in rich families, or some people born under spiritually evolved families. So they are both yoga brashtas, meaning those who are common. But is the opposite also true? Everyone who is born in rich family, everyone who is born to spiritually inclined people, are they all yoga brashtas? Like the converse of that. Anybody wants to comment on that?
It would seem that that's not true.
Huh.
I mean, and I would use kind of 2 points of evidence for that. First of all, the evidence of what we see in the modern day. Obviously, not everybody who is born in a prosperous family is a spiritual practitioner. Also, and I'm sorry, I don't know if this is an accurate translation, but Gambhirananda's translation of this verse is that the man fallen from yoga is born in the house of the pious and the prosperous, which doesn't
Yes.
mean only prosperous, but prosperous with piety.
Correct. Yeah. No, actually, I have mentioned that. I said that, prosperity as in like born to some criminal parents, or that is not the kind of prosperity. Is born to pious, meaning they are good, ethical people. But even there, that point is still there. I got your points are good, but anybody else?
Swamiji, one might get a good family in the next life or a rich family because of upasanas also.
Because of
Upasanas, Karam Kanda,
upasana.
not
Yes.
necessarily practicing the Karma Yoga or Jnana.
Yeah, or the jnana, correct. Yes. Yeah, that's a good
So-
point. Yeah.
Swamiji, and I thought that Duryodhana, for example, he was rich, huh?
Uh-huh.
Duryodhana.
Yes.
Duryodhana.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, so yeah, okay, so all the points are good. So basically, it is true. If somebody is born to rich, so there are different causes for that to happen. Or somebody is born to a pious or a spiritually evolved family. See, all this is the workings of karma. For this, you don't need Vedanta, you don't need the teachings of even yoga. Anybody who has done some good deeds or some things, or it is not necessarily good deeds. Sometimes what happens, some people are born in some places where there is good environment or good things, but in order for some suffering to happen there, so they may be born to some rich parents who maybe never have time for them, or may neglect them completely, or in some way they may undergo some other kind of a traumatic situation in that situation also. So it is not always the case that people who are born there means that they are yoga prashtas. They are born based on their karma, and whatever life circumstances, situations they will experience in that thing. It may not necessarily born to that. Or there is also one more explanation. Sometimes they say like troublemaking kids are born to spiritually evolved parents to help them progress more. so, so that they will also progress. So that is also another possibility. So all these are different reasons why they can happen. So, but yet the thing is now coming back to Yoga Brashta, the one point was mentioned in the Bhashya. What is that? Is that when that person's previous lives, abhyasa and things are there to help that person, it may seem like the person is progressing, but then at some point he may not progress. Why? Because that there is that adharma stock also, or we said the negative samskaras, they will cause obstacles, meaning pratibandhas. They will not allow us to move easily on the path. But that is where, that next shloka he said, that prayatna, that ability to make that continued sustained effort, is dependent on that person. So that is where, even though the opportunity comes, we have to work towards it. And it will seem like sometimes we are going down. So this is also the general sadhaka's experience in life. As we go on life, there are stages where we go up, where we go down. So this stage, this is the travel. Like, they say if you're going up to some mountains which is very high, like here in our things like, Kailash, Manasarovar, and all this, Badrinath, Kedarnath. So if you're walking towards that, you have to go a long way. Some places you go and you go down. You have to go through a valley and then you have to go up on another high mountain. So you are going down and you think like, oh, I'm supposed to go here, but I'm going down. But eventually it is taking you back again. So that is how our journey is, our sadhaka's journey can go through these ups and downs, these stages. So in this context, now I will just, before we go to the shloka, let me present this part about um, um, the teachings from Yoga Vasistha. So how does growth happen? So in the Yoga Vasistha, there are 7 stages given. Every sadhaka's spiritual progress. It is given through 7 stages. And the first 3 stage here are where a sadhana is happening. So let us briefly look at this. Can see this, right? Okay. See, this is 7 bhumikas, it is called, meaning the 7 stages. So the first stage here is called as Subhecha. Subhecha literally translates to good resolve or positive intention, and this is taken as a general guide for a sadhaka's progress. So the first stage is where we start on the sadhana. We have an intention. We want to do certain practices and we decide we will undertake this thing, yoga, Vedanta. So here the person starts with gaining the Shama, Dhamma and all the things. So Shama, Dhamma. So these are the sadhanas and the sadhana chatustaya. He continues, gets a sadhana chatustaya. So this is the first stage of progress. He wants to progress. He wants to realize one's own true nature. He starts the process of self-inquiry, you can say, or inquiring into the true nature of Bhagavan. This is the Subhecha. Next comes Vicharana. Vicharana means literally inquiry, self-inquiry, or we can say deliberation, meaning contemplation, deliberation, and all that. So here for the Vicharana is where he undertakes this part in Vedanta, what we call Shravana Manana. So the part of Shravana Manana is undertaken here from the sadhaka, meaning he starts listening about Vedanta, he starts trying to understand about Vedanta, he starts trying to make that effort. Next, after that, so this cannot happen, may not happen all in one life. Next life as he comes, his mind, he gets into the stage of, or whenever the next stage of progress, Tanu Manasa, there's a subtlety of mind or turning away from sense objects. So this is where the Vairagya is now getting perfected. This we had discussed before. Where is that Vairagya thing? See this Vairagya here. We had discussed. So he has gone through Yatamana, Vyatireka and Ekendriya. Until here, the desire is harboring in the mind. Then comes the Vashikara. At the point of Vashikara, that control has come. But still that knowledge has not come. So here at the point of Vashikara or somewhere, the Tanumanasa happens, meaning he turns away from the sense objects. That ability to inquire into self becomes greater. And here is where the 6th chapter is important, because that 6th chapter is now helping him to practice what we are saying as nididhyasana. Okay, so this nididhyasana process beginning, he's now contemplating deeper. He may do like this who am I inquiry, or he may get deeper into the understanding of Atma Tattva. But until this point, there is no freedom. Here, these 3 stages, he is not free. He has to be reborn again and again and again. Now, the 4th stage is where the breakthrough happens. He gets an insight into reality, what is called a sattvapati. He has a direct experience. He realizes the nature of consciousness. He realizes the nature of Bhagavan, the true nature, the reality, and the reality of this world. And this is where all that abhyasa vairagya which Bhagavan asked him to do, the culmination, the fruition, realizes in this realization. This knowledge dawns upon him. This is called the stage of sattvapati. So here sattva means truth, the realization, the understanding. Now from that realization, the jnana nishta starts happening. So meaning here is where he starts abiding in that. So at this point, he has already attained that, or he's already attained, or he's very close to attaining that Jivan Mukti Avastha. He's already attained that. So in that stage of Jivan Mukta, what happens? There is an automatic detachment, which is called asamsakti. That union with objects, union with that beyond the body identification, or the non-relationship with everything. Meaning that separation of Atma and Anatma is very clear at this point. It is called the stage of asamsakti. Then comes the padartha bhavana, meaning that stage where he doesn't see anything more. There is absence or non-ideation of objects. He is able to abide in that self wherever he goes. Like that shloka says, Sarva bhutastamatmanam sarva bhutani chatmani. In everything he sees that self, and in that self he sees everything rising and falling. So that is that stage, padartha bhavana. And the last is called the turyaga. Turyaga is where there is a complete videha mukti. There is no coming back. There is eternal freedom, complete freedom. Reaching or going beyond. It is called going beyond sometimes, Turyaga. Now, this thing of sadhakas progressing, the stage 1 to 3, Shubhecha, Vicharana, and Tanumanasa. So we all come like this, right? We all start, we want to learn, we are looking here, we are wanting there. So there is an intention, I want to progress. There is something more than life that I'm experiencing. That understanding is first we start. So there at that first stage, we are given these practices, Shama, Dhamma, and all this thing. So that he is a jignasu. So this progress is a person is a jignasu, meaning he's an inquirer. He wants to know. So the moment from that first to second is a moment of a jignasu to mumukshu. Mumukshu is one who is no longer just inquiring here and there. He wants to go deeper. He wants to practice. He makes a commitment, vicharana. That person is now a mumukshu. He's a seeker of truth. And if he gets the help of a teacher, or if he is drawn to the scriptures, then that progress will be deeper. Then from mumukshu, that person becomes a jnana nishta. He starts through that in the stage of tanumanasa, that nishtha, abiding in that jnana, that stage of jnana. Until that 4th stage where the breakthrough happens, and that he just gets a glimpse. Like all of us at some point, we get a glimpse. We sense, oh, this is not real. Something else is real. Or I have an experience of this consciousness which is there in my waking, sleep, and dreaming. Or I'm able to be a drashta of my own thoughts. So some glimpse, some insight comes. So from there, that process becomes somewhat fast. So this is what the question I was asking in the beginning. When you reach that stage, wherever you are born, you will progress. There, then your samskaras will not necessarily pull you backwards. Meaning, from that stage, it is irrevocable. That is what he says, avashapi. Helplessly, you move further from there. So that fourth stage is where should be the goal of our life. So it is not like, we need many lives. He will mention Aneka Janma. But once we have come to Vedanta, once we are studying Gita and all that, our thing is that we are irrevocably on that journey now. There is not so much scope for going backwards to a large extent. So as I mentioned, it may just seem like you're going down on the hill, but you're ultimately going up. Or you may take one step down or two steps down, or one step down and two step up. So this is how it will be from then on. So that person becomes a Brahmavid, knower of Brahman. And then the different names are given. The fifth stage is called Brahmavid Varan, Brahmavid Variyan, Brahmavid Varishta. So these are different names. I mean, those are like technical things we all. But this journey, that from the fourth to seventh, that arrow mark is there, right? So that journey, that is not something we have to worry about, because from there it will happen. That process, it is like a process which is set in motion. But this stage here, 1, 2, and 3 until 4, there is upward and downward. That is the stage we have to be careful, and that is where all these teachings are coming. This moment of going back and forth can happen here. We may go progress, we may regress, we may progress, we may regress. So this is the where the sadhaka has to be vigilant. He has to have shraddha. He has to, as in our tradition, we say he has to follow a proper teacher, and all that is part of the process in this at this stage. Okay, so this thing it comes from Yoga Vasistha, and it is usually referred. This is a common means of reference to help us understand. All right, so now for understanding this, now we can go back to our shlokas with keeping this in mind. So what are we now looking at from the shlokas we looked at is that maybe we can just chant the shlokas first and then we can. Okay, so let us again start from shloka 43. Those of you who can, all of you can try. Tatra tam buddhi sanyogam
Tatra tam buddhi sanyogam
Buddhisayogam
labhate paurvadehikam
labhate paurvadehikam
yatate cha tatho bhuyas
yatate
yatate
chato
chahato bhuya
bhuya
samsiddhau kuru nandana
samsiddhau
samsithau
nandana
kurunandana
purvabhyasena tenaiva
purvabhyasena tenaiva
hriyate vyavashopi saha
hriyate yavashopi saha
jignasurapi yogasya
Jignasurapi yogasya
jignasurapiyogasya
shabda brahmati vartate
Shabda
yadam
brahmati
brahmati
vartate
vartate
prayatnadyatmanastu.
Prayatnadyatmanastu
Sorry, let us repeat again. Prayatnadyatmanastu.
Prayatnadyatmanastu
Yogi samshuddha kilbishaha.
Yogi Shuddha Kilvishaha
Aneka janma samsiddhis.
Aneka
Aneka
Janma
janma samsiddhis
Tato yati parangatim.
Tato
tato
Yati
yati
Parangatim
parangatim
tapasvibhyodhiko yogi
Tapasvibhyodhiko yogi.
jnanibhyopi matodhikaha
Anibhyopi matodhikaha.
Karmibhyachadhiko yogi
Karmibhyaschadhiko yogi.
tasmad yogi bhavarjuna.
Tasmad yogi bhavarjuna.
So the Purvabhyasena jignaso, yogasya shabda brahmartivat. So by that previous practice, by the power of that previous practice, this person is carried forward even without intention. So especially he is talking when we reach that fourth stage, or even the third stage also. Then the force of that thing, that abhyasa is so strong, that abhyasa vairagya is so strong that it will just push that person. Jignasurapi yogasya shabda brahmati vartate. So here the word shabda brahma is reference to two interpretations. One is that it is a reference to that karma kanda aspect, where that person is no longer seeking just through karma that results. All the results that you get through karma kanda takes you to certain place. Or we can say the upasanas, especially the upasana on Shabda Brahma means Om. When you do all that upasana, you reach a certain state, that very high state of Siddhi. But even that stage, one is able to pass beyond that. That is the idea. He goes even beyond that, meaning that he is set on that sattvapati stage, attaining the true nature of reality. So this person, that ability of that person, that is why here Shankaracharya says, Samarthyat sopi shabda brahma vedhokta karmanushtana phalam ati vartate. So that karmanushtana, doing all that karmas and all that upasanas, that all those things, that beyond that one is able to go. Now the what is that kutascha yogitam shreyaita? So what is the state which he is mentioning? So here the next slokas, that yogi who continuously is applying himself through many janmas, he has aneka janma, is that once he has come to this stage of doing shravana manana and nididhyasana, there is many lifetimes he has gone through, right from maybe being some kind of a worm or a bird or whatever, on all this evolution we say, many lifetimes of evolution. That yogi who has strived, prayatnad yatamanasya, that striving, he has continuous striving, meaning making that effort. So here he's using that free will. Effort means not just like brute effort, that vichara, that contemplation, that making right choices, choosing wisely in one's life and getting that knowledge, all that. Yeah, some siddha, some shuddha kilbishaha. So he is purified. All those karma that became a obstacle, that pratibandhas, that wrong actions, that wrong kind of tendencies, that wrong samskaras, the wrong mental impressions, habits, all that falls away now. I mean, or it starts falling away because he's able to prioritize. Like just take how all of you now, once you start coming to the class, you realize, okay, this time this class is there. So at this time, other things I will put away. So that other habit which we had before, we put away and we make an effort. So this is like how, that person, he's considered have to come here. Now, aneka janma, many lifetimes. What does it mean? How has it he got through here for many lifetimes? So there, Shankaracharya says, anekeshu janmasu kinchit kinchit samskara jatam upachitya tena upachitena. So little by little, like some good samskaras in one life, some good samskaras in other life. So we can take it like that, but we can take in this very life only. Every day we make that change. Every day, little by little. If we are meditating 10 minutes, make an effort to meditate 11 minutes next day, 12 minutes next day. So that accumulation builds up, right? And then it becomes easy to sit even for 1 hour, 2 hours. Then you don't have a problem. Initially, when you come to the class also, it is hard. The mind is going here, going there. So as you keep doing it, then slowly that habit builds. Then you're able to absorb that knowledge. So that perfection is attained not like overnight. So abhyasa, again, he's talking about. That part of abhyasa, it doesn't happen overnight. Wherever we are, we shouldn't compare to others. We start with ourselves. My next day should be better. My next hour should be better than the previous hour or the previous day. So that person is slowly, this is how he's striving and making these efforts. And Aneka Janma Samsiddha Yati Param Gati. So he attains that stage, Sattvapati and Asamsakti, which I pointed in that chart. Once that stage is attained, and he goes all the way to Turiyaga. There is no coming back. For that person, there is no reversible stage. It is like even though something happens, even though life problems happens, difficulties come, he is not inwardly reversed. I mean, he doesn't go back. Problems in life will continue on as usual, but he is untainted. His mind doesn't gather that impression. And somewhere in that Gita Mananam, I gave that example where I mentioned, it is like that drawing of the line drawing a line on water. So if there is a water there, you draw a line, what happens? It doesn't leave any impression. So that person's mind becomes like that, like actions, things that happen in life. It doesn't create that kind of a negative samskara impression. Because if there is negative impression, then he will seek again, he will come again to fulfill that. So now the next shloka he mentions, he is now trying to exalt this yogi, the one who is making this abhyasa, especially this abhyasa of jnana, the abhyasa of shravana manana nididhyasana. To that person, he says, tapasvibhyo adhiko yogi. This yogi is better than tapasvis, meaning austerities. A lot of like people, even asanas, other pranayama, other practices we are doing. That is also part of tapas in a way. We needed that at some point. But now that we are able to do this, this jnana, this abhyasa, all this dhyana yoga, jnana yoga, all this, then that person is greater than that. Then he says, Jnani bhyopi mathodikaha. He is higher than even the Jnani. So what Jnani is mentioned? We are doing Jnana Abhyasa. So here Shankaracharya mentions Jnana here means Jnani bhyopi Jnanamatra Shastrartha Pandityam. So when we talk about Jnani, it is talking about that either we take that scriptural knowledge from other scriptures, non-Vedantic, or we take that knowledge which is just at the theoretical level. Like I might have a lot of knowledge of Vedanta, Sanskrit, but I have not made effort to do manana, nididhyasana, means that knowledge is very theoretical. It remains at that level. I don't contemplate, I don't apply it in my life. So that is not that person he's talking about. So we will talk about this in the next chapter, Jnana Vijnana. So there that jnana is that paroksha jnana, vijnana is that knowledge you are realizing, you are applying in your life. So okay, so that, and then he is higher than even that person who is a karma yogi. Karma yogi as a not just karma yogi as in Bhagavad Gita, but the one who is engaged in lot of karma. Agnihotradi karma. Tadabhyaha adhikaha yogi. Visishtaha yasmat tasmat yogi bhavarjuna. So he says, this is a very famous quote. Tasmat yogi bhavarjuna. O Arjuna, become thou a yogi. Be you a yogi, meaning we should all take this that our practice, our ability is to become this yogi. So, of course, in different context, he will say different things. In the karma yoga, he will say, do karma yogi, become a karma yogi, fight your battle of tasmat yuddha, do you fight the battle of life. Then in other places, he says, the jnani is very close, dear to me. In some places, he says, the one who thinks of me is always dear to me. So all that different context, different stages of our sadhana, we need that. But here that cry or that call of Krishna to Arjuna is, be you a yogi, become a yogi, Arjuna, meaning do that abhyasa, do go through that stages of abhyasa, vairagya, make your effort to practice as much as you can. Continue with that practice and attain that stage of yogi. Okay, so this here, now we will look at that last shloka in the next class where he brings that same point. But now this concludes this section where Arjuna's question. Arjuna's question was, what happens to somebody who dies prematurely without attaining that realization, or who for some reason in this life only is no longer able to do that sadhana? But what happens to all that sadhana he did? Is it all going to go waste? So this is where Bhagavan is now assuring us, either through karma or through samskara, that momentum has been gained. So once you start, then you will continue as long as you keep making some effort. Even though temporarily we may experience some ups and downs, that path is somewhat like there, that power of that momentum, that force. So that habit force, once it is established in the good way also, you cannot stop it. It is that we have consciously engaged it. But the good habits are your best helpers. Good habits, there is never going to cause you problems. It will only take you higher and upward on the spiritual path. Bad habits or negative things always is a challenge. It can pull you backwards. And the bad tendencies also can pull us backward. So this is where, the two samskaras are internally happening. And the dharma, adharma are also battling at the worldly and cosmic level. They are the battle. So our outer battles, outer experiences of life, they are based on karma. Our inner battles are based on the samskaras. So good and bad things I have done in my life will present certain circumstances in my life, karmically. But the good and bad thoughts, habits, patterns, they will determine my inner things. Eventually, that inner tendencies are more powerful than karmic thing. So if the inner tendencies are overcome, if that negative tendencies are overcome, then the karma will be broken. So this is a bigger discussion, but until which stage the force of karma has its sway on us. Okay, so we will, any questions, anything?
Swamiji, can I ask a question on verse 46 here?
Yeah.
Be thou Arjuna a yogi. To what degree is yogi and jnani synonymous in this verse? And then to the degree that it's not synonymous, what distinguishes the yogi from the jnani?
Yeah. So here we can take it both ways. So it is, if we really understand the essence of this chapter, then he is talking about this chapter from the perspective of nididhyasana, ultimately, the culmination, which is jnana abhyasa. So that ultimate culmination of dhyana is jnana abhyasa. So in that context, that be thou a yogi, is equated to this jnani who is doing jnana abhyasa. But yet we cannot literally say it is only a jnani. Why? Because this abhyasa, I mentioned before, this abhyasa is based on the foundations of all other sadhanas here. in this chapter. So the other sadhanas in this chapter are based on that, all that steps I had given, that where he talks about moderation. He talked about even, sitting in a quiet place. All that is part of that abhyasa. So that is more of the dhyana yoga prakriya in that. So in that context, it is not exclusively the jnana. It includes all that as well. But the culmination of that is that when he says, be thou a yogi, that abhyasa, all this you're doing so that it can take you further on the path towards becoming that jnani. Yeah, the second part where you were asking, where it is not or where it is. So it is, then we take it more like if we're taking this chapter as the chapter on dhyana yoga, then the essence here is the person has to have his foundations set properly. That basic practices, moderation, all that I mentioned, having certain vigilance, mindfulness, that 5 things I had given in one of the chart before. Yeah, who was it asking? Somebody else.
Swamiji,
Yeah.
I always thought that karma and samskaras, they influence each
Yes.
other, and
Yeah.
we cannot take them apart. This what you told us today was new for me, that karma is related to the outer things, and
Correct.
samskaras the inner inclinations, huh?
Yes. So generally, there is a very strong interdependence or an interrelation between samskara and karma. However, it is not always the case that they are the same. So karma, as I mentioned here, it is the outward manifestation of circumstances in your life. All those causes and conditions which have come together in your life, that is based on karma, meaning that is based on dharma adharma, meaning the good actions you have done and the bad actions you have done, the cumulative effect of that and the right time of their maturing. All that is a whole set, and here we say for this is Ishvara or the Lord. Bhagavan is the karma paladata. We don't choose over this. Bhagavan decides where, in what situation, who will come, what will happen in our life. That we don't have control over, really. So, to this extent, karma, outward situations, we don't have control. However, here is a catch. This is more from the yoga prakriya. The yoga says that everything here experience is experienced based on your samskaras. How you experience everything. A bad situation, a yogi may still experience in a positive way. A good situation, a non-yogi may make a big mess out of it. So all this is dependent on our samskaras and how, in fact, science has this thing. They say that everybody have something called as a base level happiness. There is also another word for it, meaning people carry a certain degree base level of happiness. So they are always coming back to that. Meaning, if somebody is constantly unhappy, they will be at that unhappy level. They may experience something like they may have some good trait or good thing, they may experience, but they will go back to that base level of happiness. So that is also what samskaras are. Samskaras is like that. It is in your internal state of mind. So now what the yogi says is, if you are able to be vigilant and change that inner samskaras, then slowly that force of karma will no longer hold that same effect on you. So slowly, and we will discuss this maybe some other time. So here is where, that at some point that Bhagavan's teaching was samatvam, that is the breaking point where that using just our inner samskaras, where we are not giving way to that raga dvesha, where we are not carried away by that aversion and cravings in our life. We are able to control outward life situations. Not like in a direct way, but in a very subtle way, we are able to change outward life situations. That's so samatvam there is Bhagavan's way of working with the samskaras.
Thank you.
Okay, huh? All right, so we will leave it at this. We'll take it up in the so next class we will do the 6th chapter only. I will finish the 6th chapter next. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namo Narayana.